Hello and welcome to CX Today. My name is David Dungay. Today I'm joined by Robin and Corey. Welcome to the show both. How are you?
Doing well,
Doing
thanks.
great, thanks.
Good to see you, David.
Fantastic. So today we're going to be talking about a CX first mindset and the integration of UC and CC technologies. But before we get into that conversation, let's do a few introductions. Robin, shall we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and Metrigy.
Sure, happy to. So, as you said, my name is Robin Gareiss, and I am CEO and Principal Analyst at Metrigy. And we are a research and strategic advisory company, and we really focus, I think our name says a lot about who we are and what we do. It's the combination of the two words metrics and strategy. So we conduct a lot of research, develop from that research and analysis and from conversations that we have with enterprise IT and CX leaders. We develop a lot of metrics around what companies are doing, what they're spending, how they rate their providers, all sorts of things. And then we use that to basically advise companies on their strategies. We do marketing content from it. We do things like this, speaking, which I love doing because I'm just kind of sharing information that I hope will help organizations to make better decisions. And my focus area is on CX. Love CX. I think it's the best area to be in technology these days. So that's my jaded opinion, right?
Thanks, Robin. And Corey, tell us a little bit about yourself and Intermedia.
Would love to. Couldn't agree with Robin more. CX is one of the most exciting spaces and my personal favorite. I've been in it my whole career. And right now I'm at Intermedia and leading the CCaaS department, the VP there. I used to be the CEO of Telax. We joined Intermedia a few years ago to actually bring this topic that we're talking about to life and to our great customers and partners out there. Intermedia is an amazing organization, partner first, and has a business communications cloud suite that includes the unified communications, UCaaS, CCaaS, as well as other solutions around all that. And as I mentioned, we go to market through our partners, which is really great. And we enable them in ways that we're singular in the market in doing so. So it's really exciting times. And this space that we're all in together, it's never been better. And really excited to talk about this with all of you today.
Fantastic. Well, let's get into some of those questions then. First up, Robin, let's go to you first of all. We're talking about contact center buyers. What do those buyers, what do they want today?
Well, you started with a real loaded question because they want a lot and they want different things depending upon where they are in their whole development of their CX strategy. So, let's be clear about that. I mean, I think there's a lot that they're that they're looking for today. I would say, as we look at our research, there's a few key things that they really kind of center around. One of them is honestly just the basics. And when I say that, I mean just like uptime, proactive customer service, the ability to just make sure that nothing's going to go down. So I know that sounds so basic and so foundational, but it still is very important to companies. I speak a lot of customer advisory boards and councils at companies, and that's still, kind of the big thing that always comes up is, hey, we have this outage, or hey, you guys have been doing great with uptime, that kind of thing. So that, first of all, is very important. I would say the next thing will be just a variety of applications. So it's not just one thing or another. And that makes it hard, honestly, for technology providers because everyone kind of wants something a little bit different. So, because CX in and of itself, by definition, is very customized, right? So a lot of companies will want something just a little bit different than others. So I think the ability to deliver applications, the ability to customize applications, obviously things like AI and analytics are becoming more important as companies look at their future strategies. But I mean, a lot of it right now is just being able to add in new channels that they don't have. And then I also would say that one of the big things we're seeing is platform integration. So I talked about CX being my favorite area right now in technology. UC, workplace collaboration is probably my second favorite. And the merging of those two worlds, I think, is very, very important. You see a lot of value to being able to integrate your UC platform and your contact center platform. It's not just the technology, it's the people too. So now the people in contact center are able to access the people outside of the contact center and vice versa. So we're seeing a lot of really cool things happening there.
I think that's right on the money. I love hearing you mention all that because the folks wanting UC and CC to come together, I think relates a lot to your question. What do buyers want? At Intermedia, we really think about it at a high level that you've got one key user, and that's the team in your organization. And they've got two challenges and two opportunities that they're working with every day. One is internal communications and collaborations, which has typically been the space where UC comes in, and external communication and collaborations, which is where typical CC and CCaaS solutions have come in. But really, they're the same thing, solving those two problems for the same user. And when we do it well internally, we call it productivity. And we're not just saying it's efficiency, it's more just about being able to do great work easily with your team so that you can ultimately deliver a great experience to your customers, which is what we call it when you do it externally. So these things coming together for the same user just makes a ton of sense. And the technologies are really there to support this movement. And I love that you said CX and UC are kind of your two favorite areas because they're coming together. So you're going to have one really big, super favorite area. And I think one of the things that's really driving that today is just the focus on why customer experience is so important. I think everyone has learned that that is one of the most direct links to customer loyalty. And the customer loyalty is the link that drives profitable growth. And we say that, there's an easy way to remember why this matters. And we call it the 4 Rs, right? Remember reading, writing, arithmetic? Well, the 4 Rs in this space, especially with, subscription-based businesses where recurring revenue is so important. The first R is retention, where you get a review and a negative review can really take you down. Well, retention is really key. The second R is related sales. The idea that people will buy more from companies that they enjoy doing business with and have good solutions. The third R, back to the reviews, is referrals, or just having folks post reviews, referrals and reviews that will get more people to really appreciate your solution. And the last one, the hidden one, which I think a lot more people are taking advantage of, is R&D. The idea that if you can capture these conversations that you're having day to day, you're having like a focus group in your contact center 1,000 times a day. Can you change that data into information and make decisions based on it? I think that those are some of the appeals that's making this, technology in this space super exciting right now.
Yeah, it certainly is a super exciting time for CX in general, I think. Robin, I mean, we're talking about CX first mindsets here today. What do you see as the big challenges behind those businesses transitioning to that mindset, that CX first mindset?
Yeah, it's funny because you'll talk to a lot of companies or a lot of CX and business leaders at companies, and they think that they already have a CX first mindset, but I might argue differently. So I think a lot of it is just getting in touch with reality and making sure that they actually know, okay, what does this really mean? I think as we look at companies, it's probably just getting everyone on the same page, getting everyone to think the same. So as an example, like, a chief marketing officer may be really invested in a particular marketing campaign, or maybe a sales leader is, really, has bought into their sales strategy and that's it. But let's just say that a voice of the customer analysis shows pretty clearly that those campaigns or that sales strategy just isn't resonating. Do you know how hard it is to get that CMO or that sales leader to say, oh, okay, the customer is not resonating, I'm going to pull back and do something different? It's very hard. So I think that's one just very clear example of how we see, that sometimes companies just, they say they're customer first, but they're not really. So I think it's important also, one of the challenges I see is just getting that strong leader who really pushes that mindset in everything the company does. So truly being that customer, first, CX first, kind of company. So what does that really mean to your company? Do you have a leader who's pushing that in every way, everything you're doing? And I would say one of the things there is, not to limit it to just a certain type of employee. So, for example, it's not just the contact center. It's not just your frontline workers. It's everybody in the company. It's people in legal. It's people in HR. It's your product development. It's marketing. It's legal. It's everybody. And I think that getting those non-traditional, frontline type customers thinking in a customer mindset is probably one of the biggest challenges to transitioning to that CX first mindset.
I couldn't agree with you more, Robin. I think the alpha and the omega of all this is culture, right? The organization has to adopt that culture. And I think your point about a leader that is really driving that is key, and having people adopt it is key. The challenge that folks have with, culture, and starting with culture, is that all the other parts of their business can hold them back. So what I see out there is the structure of the businesses tend to provide, friction or impediments to really embracing that kind of culture, even if you have a strong leader that's really embraced it and is communicating it. In our experience, we find that the trade-offs that a larger company versus, and I'm making it simplistic, versus a smaller company are different, but they're both trying to overcome it in adopting a customer first mindset. So large company typically we would think of, and I think our experience kind of resonates with that, is little maybe less agile, less nimble, where a smaller company, a lot of people love doing business with them because they are agile and nimble. So you've got the new adoption of these tools trying to make those larger companies more agile and more nimble. We'll talk about that more, but what large companies really have is great processes, great systems, the ability to use some of these tools that have already been deployed to provide audit and accountability. While they might not be as quick, they'll learn from their experiences and be able to, update their systems and processes to avoid that second time that this happens. So almost like proactive resolution in the effortless experience parlance. Smaller companies, they can do that huddle and they can do that consult naturally, but they don't have necessarily the great systems and the great reporting and the great BI to resolve this in the future. So they might be solving the same problem again and again, but they'll be able to do it quickly. So the smaller companies have the problem of adapting a more structured and systematized approach to it. And then this larger company have the problem of being nimble enough to be able to collaborate effectively to it. I think the measure of this really comes into play. I think we'll talk more about it later, but this UC and CC coming together, one of like the flagship capabilities that we talk about, and I know Robin will talk about, is the subject matter consult, right? The ability for that frontline worker to be able to ping someone, bring them together, and solve that problem quickly. I think that the challenge there is that you have to, you can have that technology to be able to do that, but you need the culture and the processes to say, well, who are you pinging? Is that person expecting you to be there, and will they be there? So it's more than just saying, hey, you can do this. It's the whole organization organizing around being able to actually deliver on that rest of that process and create that great experience. So a lot of challenges, but the great part is that the tools are coming there to be able to enable it. And now it just becomes a matter of, the will of the organization to not just provide a lip service, but to build the underpinning processes that I can deliver through on it. Really cool.
Corey, you spoke there about some of the differences between big and small companies and this need for UC and CC technology. But I mean, where did this all sort of manifest itself from in the market? Where did this all come from?
Well, I think, to a large part, the best ideas come from the market itself, where they detect a need and they're trying to use the tools that they have access to actually achieve all this. One of our early experiences, and it's almost going back a decade now, is a large financial services company who had kind of two groups of frontline workers. They had, they sold through financial planners, so through a channel. And if you had, less than 5 million invested with that, you would call the main number and you would get any one group of financial service representatives to answer your questions about the financial products. But if you had more invested, you had a direct rep that you could call and ask these questions, which obviously, a little more expensive, but created a better relationship. The difference that this organization realized was that, well, this group behind the queue, the ACD, the more formal contact center, had all these amazing metrics, had the ability to QA and improve these teams to be better. And these folks over here, although they did the same job, because they weren't behind a queue, they didn't have any of that. So they said to us, hey, we want to bring this from this group and put that umbrella over these other groups. And then we're like, well, yeah, we can do that. Kludge it up a little bit, get it to work. And they just saw tremendous benefits from it. And later on, we ended up working with an insurance company who's telling a similar story of, we have this amazing contact center with amazing stats and amazing, results there, but our overall CSAT for the whole organization isn't great. Why is that? Well, it turned out that around these 400 agents, they had the actual insurance adjudicators, there are about 1,200 of them, and they were the ones actually delivering the service, and they weren't within the umbrella. So even though the contact center was doing a great job, the real service delivery was happening outside that purview, and they weren't, able to be brought within this light, and therefore there was no visibility, no ability to improve. So they asked us to expand that umbrella, which we had this experience from this previous company, and all of a sudden, everything changed and they were able to have that end-to-end visibility. So these were the early innings of these ideas that are now coming into fruition. I think folks deep in the contact center market have been kind of waiting on the wings for these technologies to become more embraced and more ready. And I think this is the time for that. Both the technology is ready, but also the social milieu has come to a point where these tools are more accepted and more embraced. I think remote work has helped a lot in terms of folks embracing this. And I think to an extent, like Facebook and the idea that, privacy and your business data, it's okay that people will share it, at least within the organization. People are a little less recalcitrant around that. Like people, and I think management and culture has gotten better. Early days in contact center, it was really about, what used to call Theory X type of management, where people won't do work unless it's carrot and sticks. And now we've more adopted to people do want to do great work. So the fact that I have data and monitoring on them doesn't mean that I'm going to manage them in this way, because I expect them to be successful. And folks are more comfortable with the fact that all of this is being visible because we're tied in, because management has embraced a culture where it's much more supportive rather than using these tools in a punitive way. So I think that's why finally the day has come for these technologies to come together and knowledge workers embrace them more broadly.
Yeah, Robin, I want to come to you now. As industry analysts and like us, like industry media, we tend to live in the future, a little bit more than the real world, if you like. But can you give us some idea? How many people, how many customers have actually embarked on this sort of UC/CC integration? And in that scenario, typically how many vendors are involved within that?
Well, all that varies. So we are seeing globally right now about 46% of companies doing some level of integration between UC and contact center. That'll be by the end of this year. So that's already completed and planned by the end of this year. So it's a lot bigger than you'd think. So globally about 46% in the U.S. Sorry, it's not U.S. It's North America. North America, it's about 67%. So North America is very further ahead, in this whole integration area than other parts of the world right now. But and I would also stress that they're doing some level of integration. So it may not be some might just be doing something like, hey, we're using video from UC and enabling that into our contact centers. Whereas in other cases it might be a full out, if we have the same user interface for employees and contact center agents, it doesn't matter. So it's varying levels of integration. So I will point that out for sure. I would say, as far as number of vendors, when you consider other integrations and other ecosystems that you want put into this, things like CRM, CPaaS, ERP, those types of applications, there could be as many as 5 to 10 companies, vendors involved in that platform ecosystem. So what a lot of companies are doing now is they're trying to determine, do we want to make it, sort of a requirement that we use the same provider for our UC contact center integrations? You don't have to. You can certainly use 2 different providers and use some APIs and do some work to integrate the 2. I would say this is really an important go-forward strategy. It makes a lot of sense to use the same provider because you're going to have the same development, the same, hopefully the look and feel is the same, as the vendor puts out a new technology or a new feature, a new capability on the CX side, maybe it can also be extended into the UC side. So, you just have a lot more consistency there. But also from an IT standpoint, you're now, managing and learning one vendor versus 2, 3, 4, 5, however many you might have in your ecosystem.
Yeah, lots to think about there. I mean, if you could encapsulate all of that into, why do customers or why do companies want to actually integrate their UC and CC, and how would you sort of summarize that?
I think Corey talked a lot about that already, in the last, conversation that we just had, that you were just talking about with the, just where did it originate and everything. From a research standpoint, we have in fact asked that question. So quantitatively, we've gotten some response on how, or why companies are doing this integration. There's a few reasons. So one is just to be able to extend applications to all employees. So for example, a lot of what we see in the contact center are things like workforce engagement management applications or, maybe some analytics applications that companies really like to be using in the contact center. And they say, well, why aren't we using this everywhere? So just the ability to kind of extend applications where relevant. So we're seeing a lot of the CX providers now, do different types of licensing. So yeah, you can have a full contact center license, or you can have some sort of a partial or some sort of a hybrid, so really just being able to extend applications. So but that goes both ways. So you could be extending collaboration applications into your contact center workers. We see that very commonly. So being able to now, and believe me, contact center workers used to be on this island. They didn't even have UC capabilities, right? So even being able to have just like, team workspaces, being able to do perpetual chat, being able to see presence status, being able to use video in conversations, not only external to customers, but internal, especially as Corey said, with the remote workers, being able to manage them. So I think that's another one. Just being able to integrate video explicitly with your contact center, beyond what I just said. And what I mean there is just being able to use it to, it doesn't break when you use video. You still are seeing things like recording and transcriptions. Whereas if you're just going to send someone a link to a disconnected video system, you might not be able to integrate into your customer data record or the recordings or the transcriptions or that type of thing. So having that kind of, full integration, I think just, from a cultural standpoint, being able to get help. So if I'm a contact center agent and I'm working at a mortgage company and I have a complex commercial mortgage that I'm working on right now, and I have kind of an impatient customer, and this customer really wants an answer to something, I don't know the answer. If I can go ahead and ping somebody who's on my list of experts for this particular topic and get that person, just loop that person right in, boom, connect them right into our call or our video and get that answer. I mean, we've seen many examples of this just being able to close sales or, give you a high CSAT score. So those are, some of the big things. Oh, one other one that I think is a little bit underrated is the ability for people within and anywhere in the organization to tap into resources within the contact center. So being able to go to a contact center agent, if you're in product development, say, hey, here's what's in our next, planned upgrade. Is this making sense? Do you think this is resonating with who you're hearing? Oh, no, wait, last 5 days, we've been hearing a lot about X. That's not on your list. So that type of expertise, bringing it in. So it goes both ways. There's so many, I could go on and on talking about this. I've got a lot of things, but those are some of the ones that we see top on the list of integrating the platforms.
I love your passion and data
Fantastic.
around this stuff, Robin, because it's true. It's like a matrixed problem that's being unpacked, and there are so many ways that value is being created. I think for the most part, why people want this integration, it's because they see a problem that they're trying to solve. I think it's true when they say people are typically experience rich but theory poor. So we have this experience and we're trying to solve it, and then those of us are coming behind it to like put the theory around what they're trying to solve for. And I think one of the categories that we've gotten stuck around is that like the contact center is who talks to the customers externally and everyone else kind of huddles internally, and that's still not true. That happens. Everyone is talking to everyone, and the technology isn't really supporting that. So they want the technology to become more in line with how folks want to do business. And I'll also say the category of contact center and its function has evolved, and the technology is now just trying to catch up. Meaning, when it all started, we talk about call deflection as IVR or AI. Well, contact center was the call deflection. It was keeping the customer at bay so the rest of the business could do the business. And then it was cost-centric model. Now that folks have moved to a customer-centric model, the tools don't really support that, and they're trying to use the tools in a more customer-centric way. And then to the point about the earlier topic about the focus groups, I love that you mentioned that internal teams now want to tap into customer, contact folks in the contact center. They're speaking to the customers more to tap that information, which I love, because when I started in the contact center and I started as an agent during university, it always frustrated me how we felt like we were this second-class citizen that was isolated, and we're like, we're the folks talking to the customer all the time. Shouldn't we have a little more respect? Well, I think that has come to pass, and now people are looking at the tools to both collaborate together and tap each other's knowledge, both to serve, the internal functions, which ultimately are going to serve the customer, which is what we're all trying to do together anyway. So it's amazing to see them come together like that.
And it's like, this is one of those practices where you're seeing the technology happen, and then more and more uses of it coming afterwards. Like, people aren't even realizing how much they can do until they actually do the integration. So it's definitely not a technology looking for a problem. It's like the problem exists, and once people do this, they really start seeing a lot of value, more so than they imagined.
I think we're in real early innings about this. And I love that you mentioned, because so many times people talk about UC and CC and what they think is really the contact center agents getting some collaboration tools to talk with the rest of the team. But I think it's going to be flipped on its head. Like you mentioned, like the tools going all the way through the organization. I don't think we're going to have these two categories much longer, like UCaaS, CCaaS. What is that? Like, first of all, they don't make sense. Like first, no customer understands what those are. So if you're using those in the market, please stop. And the second part is that they're artificial divisions, and I don't know what it's going to be called. If I come up with a pithy name, I'll hopefully coin it and we'll capture it. But it will be something that brings a layer of business intelligence across the whole organization. Intelligence about the customer journey, intelligence about the team journey and what they're doing. It'll also bring all of the interactions that are available into all depths of the organization, whether it's departmentally or down to the individual, and ultimately the integrations of those tools together and those tools with the rest of the tools you use. I think those three eyes, make the gridiron, the pillars of the integration, the interactions, and the intelligence that will support these new capabilities. And I think you're totally right. The more we do, the more we'll learn what we can do, and the more value that'll be created from this capability. And there's enough already out there that people are willing to go into it. And then we're going to go be on the other side of this portal, and it's going to be a brave new world, I say. Brave new world.
We're talking about integrations there, so let's stick with that. Robin, when it comes to integrations, are they all born equal? We're seeing a lot of integrations with all sorts of technology in the market, but are they all the same? And what makes a good integration from particularly an agent perspective?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so to answer your question, no, they're definitely not all equal. There's so many different ways that companies are integrating. So there's not a one size fits all at all. I would say from an agent standpoint, they basically want a unified desktop. They want the ability to access whatever they need, when they need it without doing a lot of hunting and pecking. And they want that customization too. So not every agent's desktop is going to look the same, nor should it. It's based on personal preference. What do they want? Where do they want their widgets? What do they want to be able to see based on what kind of customer service they may be delivering or what department of the company they're in? They may need immediate access to CRM, whereas others may not. It just kind of depends on what they're doing. From a technical standpoint, the top technical requirements that we see for integration, like we ask companies, what's kind of a must-have, a nice-to-have, or not needed. So if I look at just the must-haves, an integrated user interface is actually number one. So that's the most complex integration there is. So you can, and I'll tell you, not many companies are doing that yet. That's kind of that's their goal. That's what they want to get to. So and that bodes well for doing a single vendor for both, UC and contact center, because it's very hard to do an integrated user interface and do it well from different providers. So that's number one. Almost 75% of companies said that. A cloud-based platform, so they like the flexibility of the cloud, the pricing structure, things like that. That's about 56%, so that was a must-have. All employees are able to use speech analytics and recordings. So again, Corey, to your point about these barriers are kind of artificial, right? It doesn't matter if you're speaking to an internal customer. So I'm HR and I'm talking to an employee. That's my customer in some respects, or whether I'm in the contact center and talking to an end buyer. Just everybody should be able to have access to those capabilities so that they can, they have their recordings, they can do some analytics, they can see are they saying things right? Can they improve? How can they improve? That was 51%. Also 51%, the same enterprise directory. So being able to, no matter where you are in the company, you don't have a different directory. And we all know a lot of companies have that. And then same team collaboration tool across all employees. So just because I'm in the contact center, I should not have a different collaboration tool than those in the rest of the company. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, a lot of companies do already have multiple collaboration tools because of acquisition or because, this group really likes, Slack and this group really likes Teams or something like that, whatever it might be. So we do see that when companies want to integrate, they want to kind of level set all of that and have a single collaboration tool. That's about 50, just over 50% are in that space.
That's incredible data. Incredible data, great research. It's amazing to see that you've done all that, and that because so few people are thinking about it in that way, and to actually have gone out there and found out what people are saying about it. So many times we find people say integrate, but they don't know why. So for me, what makes a great integration is is it achieving the outcome you're looking for? And are you clear about those outcomes? And we talk about trying to be customer centric, but what does that mean, and breaking that down? We often suggest customers use a simple framework, whether it's customer effort score or even just the Gallup customer outcomes hierarchy. It's it starts with accuracy. Are you able to deliver accurate information when folks are interacting with you? If you need certain tools to be able to do that better, then for sure that an integration that supports that. And the next one is availability. Do you have the right people at the right time to be able to help this customer? And then if lacking these creates dissatisfaction, and it really has to do with what industry you're in, what competitors you have, and what your customers are demanding. And then maybe you can add on partnership and advice, which is really where the hierarchy kind of tops out, with where you create value for the customer. And can these tools support you in that? So integrate to integrate isn't the key, and know why you're doing it, because unless you're going with a vendor that kind of has this pre-baked in, it's going to be a long slog. And I think some of your research shows that some folks are actually trying to do it themselves, which shows that there's a need, but also that it isn't being filled.
Absolutely. So you talk about outcomes there, Corey. I do think that's really, really important to show, business outcomes. What is actually happening at the end of all of this technology. And I feel like I could probably let you both speak all day on CX technology, which is fantastic to see. But what kind of business impacts are you seeing with this technology today? Robin, do you want to kick us off with that one?
Yeah, this is something that we are always gathering metrics on. Is just it's great to use technology, it's great to have it, but if it's not generating positive effects in your business metrics, then it's a waste of everyone's time and money, right? So you want to make sure that you're always generating those good business metrics. And when we asked organizations what they saw once they integrated UC and contact center, what happened to their business metrics, 42% boost in agent productivity. So just for a lot of the reasons we've been talking about, agents became more productive. 36% improvement in customer ratings. So think about it. If you're able to get someone on a call or a video right away to get you an answer, boy, you're going to give that interaction a 5-star rating for sure. 36% increase in annual sales. So again, the example I gave about the mortgage company, I can get the answer right away and we can close the sale. Hey, that's great. But let's figure out what we need to do to make that happen. Or if I'm in product development and I know I've got a little bit of a heads up now that customers are starting to complain about something and I can get ahead of that. Wonderful. Maybe we can do more upsell and cross-sell. And then lastly, reduction in operational costs. So we saw 29% reduction in operational costs. So that comes from things like only having to have IT get certified and trained in one technology. It's in things like not having to hire as many agents as you thought you might have to in a contact center, because now they have an extended resource and expertise throughout the rest of the company. So there's a lot of different things that are happening there that are helping with operational cost as well. And those figures, by the way, are North American companies. So we're seeing a lot of good success there.
Amazing. Agreed with all that. It's great to have the numbers to back it up. It was intuitive, but I don't have anything to add. That's awesome.
Great. So, Corey, we're coming towards the end of today's session. But before we go, I do want to get a bit of clarity around Intermedia and your journey at the moment, especially around your integration journey and how you're taking this to market. Can you give us a bit of an update?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we love the way the industry is developing right now. I mean, as Robin said, I mean, this is really on the forefront of many. It's a really exciting space, and I love being in the middle of it with Intermedia, bringing these solutions to market. I think it's really exciting to see. I mean, obviously, the cloud migration is a huge driver of value right now. But there is also other migrations on the way. One is the AI and automation, which I think is really expanding the space and the capabilities. We mentioned earlier that, the contact center itself was the deflection, and then we moved to things like self-serve IVR. AI is going to be that ultimate deflection. And I think you're going to see, a market where, the haves and the have-nots, where agents won't necessarily exist the way they do. You'll have companies that support only in an automated way. And if their business model can fund human support, you're going to have a much more collaborative, complete organization. So the contact center, as we know it, may not exist in the way that we had previously thought about it. Maybe the way that, there used to be companies with like typing pools because people themselves couldn't type and they would have to send it to a group where they would type it out. There was a time where that happened, and that the contact center may be like that. So we have a vision that that's going to be the case, where the collaboration is going to be great. But the businesses that need this, they need help in facilitating and executing that. So one of Intermedia's key focuses on the partners that are really close to those customers that understand their business needs. So Intermedia goes to market almost exclusively through partners, and those partners actually own the relationship. They can brand the solution. They bill. They are able to manage that, and they're supported by us in this great three-legged stool where we're bringing this technology and this vision, and they're able to apply it. So I think that's one of the key things in this market is, there's a lot of great technology that we talked about, but can these companies take advantage of it? So Intermedia going to market through this, what we call the core, the customer ownership reseller model, has really been, I think, the innovation that is needed to bring these technologies into play. So it's going to be a really exciting ride for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. And Intermedia is at the forefront of it and supporting our partners who are really delivering value. So excited to see that through. Excited to be talking about this. I think we're going to be talking about these topics for a lot longer. It's fun for these technologies and organizations like ours to be in the spotlight as this shift occurs. And it's great to be partnering with Robin with all these kind of research data points that justify that it's not just in someone's head or one customer's idea, that there's a seismic shift happening in the industry, and we're all going to be riding that wave and hopefully, creating value along the way. Really fun time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So look, I think we could have probably spoken for a couple of hours around CX. It's been an absolutely fascinating discussion. Robin, Corey, unfortunately that's all we've got time for, but thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on CX Today. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a like and a share on social media. That's it from me. See you next time.